Well, hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Car Chronicles, welcome. This is Dr. Carmen Bryant. You ready? So this is Car Chronicles Part 2. We've been talking about the types and subtypes of narcissists. And so we've been through a list. If you go back through my TikTok, I've gone through a list, and there are specific ones that I've talked about thus far. We've talked about the overt, also known as the grandiose narcissist. We've talked about the covert, which is also known as the vulnerable narcissist. We've talked about the toxic, which is also known as the malignant narcissist. Now let's talk about the cerebral and the somatic narcissist. So there's 5 categories as a person that has narcissistic personality disorder. So somatic or cerebral and somatic. What are these two? So the cerebral narcissist is an intellect. Now, some of them are actually educated, where they're actually smart, but they're so smart that they're dumb. Because if you get another person that's equally as intelligent as they are, usually another person can pick out certain things about them where they realize, okay, you're not as smart as you pretend to be. But these individuals, the cerebral narcissists, pride themselves off of their intelligence, their mind. These are the ones that when they're having a conversation with people, somehow or another, they're going to turn it all back to themselves. They can do speeches. They can be speaking at parties. They can be speaking at anything, but they usually talk at people. And usually you're having a conversation with them and you realize that it's supposed to be a conversation we're supposed to be having. And really it is a conversation, really a one-sided conversation. The conversation is really, they have no interest in what you have to say. They're all about themselves. They think they're smarter than the average person. They're know-it-all. These are the ones that make you question your own degree. It'll make you question the education system, because by the time they're through telling you, because they're an expert in anything they talk about, and they're smarter than anybody, professors, educators, anybody, and they can tell you about anything. And most of the time they tell you about stuff and you're thinking like, where did you get this information from? And the longer you talk to them, the more you start believing them, because they're intellectual, they're cerebral. Cerebral means the mind. These are the ones that think everybody is dumb. They think everybody, if they're educated and they have like college degrees, they think everybody that doesn't have a college degree or education is dumb. Then there are the ones that don't have a college degree or an education, and they think that everybody with a college degree or with education is dumb because they wasted their time going to school, because they know what they know and they know more than the average person knows. And they'll let you know, I've always been a smart person. I was always succeeding. I was a straight A student in school, but dang, you come out of high school, there's only so much intelligence you have based off of high school. But they really think that they're smarter than the average person, and they will argue you down, and they really despise you if you're actually smarter than them. They don't like competition like that. And if they bump into a person or they get with someone that is equally intelligent or more, they usually will not interact with them whatsoever. Go to part. All right. Dr. Carmen Bryant, Car Chronicles, and this is Narcissist Types and Subtypes, Part 7. We were talking about the cerebral versus the somatic. So let's move on to the somatic narcissist. What is the somatic narcissist? Soma meaning body. Their self-esteem and self-worth derives from how people perceive them and how they look. So it's all about their looks, their appearances, what they have, what they don't have. And many somatic narcissists, they put themselves out there because perception is everything. My big brother Marcus Monroe said that perception is everything to individuals that are toxic like this. So a somatic narcissist, perception is everything, is how you perceive them. Do they have money? How do they dress? Do they look wealthy? What do they have? What do they don't have? They're all about impressing people. They are people pleasers. And if you're not pleased, or if you don't give them credit and oohs and ahs, then they're going to dog you out. They can become very malignant, especially when they're becoming competitive. If you look good, they're going to find a way to tear you down, because they're all about their looks. These are the ones, Botox injection. I mean, there's nothing wrong with Botox injection. Don't get me wrong, but they're extreme with everything that they do. These are the ones that go overboard when it comes to pictures and videos, and you look at their whole social media, everything is about them, their bodies, how they look. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with you admiring yourself, but when it gets to the point that you are your main topic, you might want to question that. These are the ones that criticize other people about how they look. These are the ones that either fat shame or skinny shame, because you do have some narcissists, somatic narcissists that are actually obese, but they appear to be very confident, but they'll fat shame or skinny shame. They'll shame anybody that they think is not in shape or is not healthy, or they don't look a certain way, or they don't dress a certain way. They always have everything that they talk about is very superficial, and it points right back to them. Now, I'm not saying that just the somatic narcissists are cheaters, but a lot of the somatic narcissists are really bent on promiscuity. You know, they don't ever have a relationship where there is monogamy. Put it that way. Some big words. Monogamy. These are ones that are always in some type of infidelity. They always got a harem or a bunch of people that they got to run to because they need that worship. They need to be idealized. They need to be told how handsome, how pretty they are. These are the ones, if you have a sexual encounter with and they have mirrors and you think that you guys are admiring each other, they're not paying attention to you. They're looking at themselves. They're looking at themselves be a star. They're admiring their own selves. They cannot handle criticism or made to feel like they're ugly or have any type of deficiencies. And these are the ones that will come after you if you make them feel that way. Critique will cause them to be very defensive because they're humiliated that you don't admire them like they admire themselves. Car Chronicles. This is narcissist types and subtypes part, I think we're on 8, final one. And the question is, a lot of people want to know whether or not narcissists can vacillate through all the different types and subtypes. You know, the malignant, the overt, the covert, the cerebral, the somatic. Yes, some of them actually start off as, for example, overt, just very obvious, and they may have started off as cerebral. And then as they get older and they go from the ugly duckling and they find out that they're a beautiful swan, you know, they may have had thick glasses and all of a sudden they've got contact lenses, their body starts to fill out, then they revert over, you know, they transition over to somatic. Normally they have one dominant one, like they may have started off as like overt and cerebral, and that's their dominant trait. And then, you know, they get older, they discover themselves, they may switch over into somatic. However, they use the cerebral whenever necessary. So they're still intellectual and they'll use the cerebral whenever they want to use the cerebral or have to use it depending on the crowd or who they're around. But a somatic is usually somatic, and you see them, they're somatic narcissists. And then depending on the time and the area, they will use that cerebral, that intellect. Likewise, a lot of them also may be predominantly overt. However, they know how to be covert. That's when the mask is on and they're covert. And so they're very charismatic. Most people don't really know what this person is. That then as this covert narcissist is around the public, is around people that they know, they become more overt. So around the crowd of people that they're around, they become more relaxed and their overtness comes out. So they're very, unless they get around new people that they don't know, so they're back into their covert. And then some of them are just covert and the mask just falls off at home. But most of the people that are in their circle, you know, they may be unbearable, they may be malignant, you know, but a lot of that is hidden. So they do, you know, with those types and subtypes, they do, you know, maneuver through there depending on what they need to use. But they usually have a dominant trait that they usually operate in at all times. And as they get older, a lot of narcissists, as they get older, for example, the somatic, when they get older and their beauty begins to fade or their looks begin to fade, they may revert back over to cerebral, or they may revert to cerebral because they have the ability to do that. But then there are some somatic that didn't have the intellect and they try to use something else because their charm and their charismatic ways don't work anymore. So now they look like Shrek, you know, and they can't use cerebral because they're not intellectual like that. So they do vacillate between the different ones, but there's always a dominant trait. There you go.